tonight. I'm going to call this meeting to order. My name is Bob Harb. I'm your school district moderator. I'm going to go over a couple of items and then tell you how this is going to operate tonight so you'll all be aware. Number one, everybody on this floor should be a registered voter. You should have your voter card. If you're a registered voter and don't have your voter card, you need to go upstairs and get your card and come back down. Non-voters or non-registered people are upstairs in a different room. I'm told they should be able to visualize and watch this. So everybody here should be voting.
Quite a line upstairs still.
We just checked and there was only like 3 people, but if they keep coming, that's okay. You know, we got a room in there and we got a few more in there. We can still handle some more people. And they should be registered by the time I finish what I'm going to say. So they got plenty of time to walk down a flight of stairs. And it was called for 7 o'clock, so they will make sure they get in. Not a problem. So I have an assistant moderator in the side rooms. Some of the rooms I got 2 assistant moderators. Everybody has a voter card. When we get to the 1 vote on today's warrant, we'll ask you to raise your cards. If the vote is overwhelming in favor, I'm not going to make everybody count the cards. But if it's close, then we're going to go back and count the cards. We have counters in every room, moderators in every room. There's 1 mic here in front of me. We don't have mics in the side rooms. So I've asked the moderators if anybody wants to speak at the discussion of the 1 warrant article, send them out. And like in the bigger room, we'll have a little line here and they can line up. Everybody will be given a chance to speak on the warrant article. And somebody asked me, well, what if a guy's walking down the hall? Well, this hall is pretty easy. I can see him coming out of this door. That door there, I have Jim from Atkinson. He's helping out. I will do what they do on television. I'll give you a 10-second delay before we do anything. And I'll call out 2 or 3 times. Is there anyone in the other room coming to speak? People at the end could probably watch him walking down the hall. Everybody will be given their opportunity to come to the mic and speak. And tonight I'm not going to have the school board introduce themselves because they know who they are and you should know who they are and their name tags are in front of them. Next on my agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. It's behind me. Would you please join with me in a pledge to Old Glory? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could remain standing for 1 moment, I'd just like to call for a moment of silence in recognition and remembrance of today's holiday, Juneteenth. Thank you. Next on my agenda, I'm going to read my moderator rules. As somebody asked me, is this going to run like a regular deliberative session? Yes. So here's my rules, which you've heard for a number of years. They haven't changed. No smoking. Turn your cell phones off or put them on silence. Number 2, each person will treat every other participant with courtesy and respect. 3, any voter who wishes to address the meeting will approach the microphone in front of this podium, be recognized by the moderator, state your name and address, and spell your last name for the clerk. We need to put those in the records. 4, general comments will be limited to 5 minutes maximum. 5, speakers remain at the microphone for answers to any of their questions. 6, all questions to the school board or other officials or participants will be directed to the moderator. 7, each voter who desires to speak on an article will be given a chance to do so before any voter is given a second opportunity to speak on the same issue, and tonight we have only 1 issue. Number 8, makers of motions and seconds state their name for the district clerk. As I said, those have to go in the record of tonight's meeting. Number 9, only 1 amendment will be allowed on the floor at a time. I am told this warrant article is non-amendable. It should make it pretty simple. You're either for or against the article. That's it. Can't amend it, but we can discuss it. 10, secret ballots must be requested by 5 voters in writing, signed by the voters, who will be verified by the clerk and made before a vote on this 1 article. 11, Any challenges to a voice vote require 7 or more voters immediately after it's announced. I'm not taking voice votes tonight. As I said, we're going to show our cards, because I was told before some of you yell louder than others. Number 12, we don't have to worry about the Municipal Budget Act. Number 13, we're going to have a reasonable discussion, but if you want to call the question, and there's only one question, it takes a 2/3 vote to call the question. There's no amendments of financial items. Any appeal from my ruling can be done by a majority vote. All votes will be raising your cards. We're not by a hand count first. Raise your cards, and as I said, you're going to raise your cards. If they look close, then we're going to count your cards. Robert's Rules of Order only as a guide. At any time during these meetings, you, the voters, can alter these by a majority vote. These are the rules we've always gone by. Any discussion? If not, they'll be deemed to be accepted by this body. Secondly, I understand that we have a motion by the chair for non-residents to speak. Would you like to make that motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to allow non-residents Stephen Whitley and Justin Krieger to speak at this meeting.
And we have a second. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, raise your card.
So there's 2 votes tonight.
2 votes, you're right. Any opposed?
It's overwhelming.
Overwhelming in there. I wish I could yell at Jim, but I'm guessing with these numbers here, it's a positive anyway, so, okay. So now I'm going to read the warrant article. Only one. Special warrant article. Article 1. Shall the district vote to cure the procedurally defective warrant posting for the 2023 annual district meeting? I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the special warrant article, to approve the district to cure that procedural defect.
So moved.
So moved.
Can people push in, please?
I'll take it from the chair, and I have a second. Unless you want to waive your second.
I can waive my second to Jack.
Okay, Jack's in a hurry.
I'll wave back.
Waive back.
So the second by Jack. So now the warrant article is on the floor for discussion. Anyone, excuse me. Before I do that, we have with us tonight, as you can tell, I don't know if the camera can see, our legal counsel for the school, Steve Whitley. Steve's going to talk for a moment, as he did or somebody did a week ago during this meeting of the school board, to tell you really what's going on. Why are we here? Why do we need this article? And what does it mean? Steve, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and I hope, I can hear myself being picked up. So we're here to act on this special meeting, and you just heard what the warrant was. Let me just give a little background about how this came about and what we're doing here. State law in New Hampshire is that the warrant must be posted no later than the last Monday in January, because you guys are SB2. That means January 30th this year. At the time of posting, the warrant is to be attested. Attested means that some official is signing it, certifying that it is a genuine, true copy. It is what it says it is. When the warrant was posted, and it was posted by January 30th, it was not attested. So that is the procedural error or the defect that you're being asked to cure tonight. 3 days later, an attested version was posted, was reposted. The first version on January 30th and the attested version on February 2nd, in terms of content, were exactly the same. So they were no different. Nonetheless, this issue came up because, as you may remember if you were at the annual meeting, Article 3 asked you to raise and appropriate something like $25 million for energy efficiency improvements. That passed, and after that, the school board worked to secure financing. The financing required an opinion of bond counsel to close the loan. And the district asked our office to serve as bond counsel, and so we looked into the annual meeting to make sure that it had been properly called, properly noticed, that the vote was proper, all those things. That's something that bond counsel needs to be able to determine to issue the bond counsel opinion. This procedural error came up, and it's a significant barrier. It prevented us from issuing our opinion. And so no opinion of bond counsel means no loan closing. No loan closing means that the district cannot proceed with the energy efficiency improvements that at least the majority of the voters voted for at the annual meeting. State law does give you guys a way to fix it, and that's what we're here to do. This is your opportunity to fix that error. And so what the school board has called this meeting to do is asking you to ratify the annual meeting despite the improper posting of the warrant. So that's why we're here. I'm sure there are questions about what a yes vote means and what a no vote means as well. A yes vote means that the district or the school board can go forward with the financing and the energy improvement project can stay on track. The no vote is a little trickier. There's, I guess, two things I can say about the no vote. First of all, a no vote means that we, as bond counsel, cannot issue the opinion of bond counsel. So that means that the loan is not going to close, most likely, and the energy improvements are probably going to have to be put off until next year, which means that the school board is probably going to come back to the voters with a very similar article with the same request. However, due to the passage of time, I mean, I don't think anybody in this room knows if the price will be the same. It'll be 10 months later. So, I'm guessing it might be more, but I don't know. I think the other pressing question on no vote is what happens to the rest of the articles on the warrant. Those remain valid unless a judge says they are invalid. They are null and void. And I think the argument to a judge would be, Your Honor, the law says the warrant needs to be attested when it was posted. It wasn't. So we're asking you to basically throw out the entire warrant and all the vote results. I think the district's response to that is a really strong one, and I think a judge would be very hard pressed to toss out what all of you, or at least a majority of you, voted for at the annual meeting. And the answer is, the content between what was posted on January 30th and what was posted on February 2nd are identical. And so I don't think there's any credible argument that somebody could raise to say, we didn't know what we were going to be voting on. There was no difference in those two warrants other than the attestation clause. And so I don't think anyone can say they've really been harmed by that error. Nonetheless, we're here to try to fix it. So that's the end of my sort of prepared remarks. So thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Attorney. My assistant moderators, I just want to make sure, can you still get, you hearing that in there? Jim, you're in the other room and I can't tell where you are. Can you send somebody or you come down and knock on the door? Tell us if you can hear us in the other room.
They can hear it.
They can. Okay, thank you. Great. So we're open for discussion. Anybody would like to approach the microphone and discuss? Get in line.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Bilo. I'm from Plastow, and I used to be part of this school board a few years ago. I was on it for 6 years, and I got to tell you, I'm very disappointed in that we have to hold this meeting. I guess it sounds like that the board itself isn't to blame, which indicates that it was somebody from administration. And I know you can't discuss that because of HR reasons, but I'm sincerely hoping that by this time tomorrow, we're going to be short one person in administration who is responsible for this. And I assume that'd be a director level person, not just some young employee clerk.
Peter, you know how I always like to give you a hard time, so I'm going to tell you, you cannot speak against anyone, and I'm taking your remarks to be a negative remark against the poor person that maybe made a mistake, so I'm going to cut you off. If you want to speak on the article itself, you're welcome to do so.
The only other thing I really would like to speak on, well, two other things I have a couple questions. First is, how many members of this school board have actually done school board training from the New Hampshire School Board Association in the last year.
That's not relevant
not
to
germane.
the warrant article that's before you. So what's your second question? You're testing my experience tonight.
Sorry about that, Moderator Harb.
It's all right.
The only other thing is I wish to show my disdain at the lack of transparency on this whole process. The fact that most of us heard about this within the last 48 hours is terrible. And somebody, kept us out of the pack and put us down here and really kept most of the public from hearing what was going on. And I'm not speaking against any particular person there. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you,
I'm
Peter.
very disappointed.
Thank you. Someone else to approach the mic to speak on the warrant article, please.
You agreed with me?
Yeah, I know, it's amazing, huh? Sean O'Neill from Danville. One is I'd like to say thank you very much for the attorney for that detailed explanation. That should have been part of the public hearings that we had, and to piggyback on what Mr. Beerler was saying, the transparency issue. That would have been sufficient to let everybody know in this district what we're trying to correct. Using this building for what we are using it for right now is not what it's meant for. We have a beautiful multi-million-dollar pack there that would have accommodated everybody in a lot more comfortable manner. That should have been utilized. This was a bad decision in my part. But one of the things that you brought up, Counselor, that I think is pretty important is you're talking about bond counsel, and it's due to that. This isn't a bond, that particular warrant article. It was a lease agreement. And it was all talked about that we could prepay all this stuff. That was the big selling point. You could prepay it and not have to do that. With a bond, you're stuck with that for 20 years, and that's how you're going to be stuck with it. So my question is now is that, what are we getting here? Are we getting a bond? Are we getting a lease? What are the agreements that we're into? And you're asking us to do all this stuff now.
I think the attorney can answer that because he and I have had a discussion on why bond counsel was involved. Maybe, Steve, that might answer this gentleman's question.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Really good question. This is a lease. It's not a, quote, bond because the lease agreement has a non-appropriation clause in it. However, that does not mean that the lender who's giving the district the money still doesn't want the same protection by getting an opinion of bond counsel, even though it's not a quote-unquote bond.
The appropriation clause, all that is a guarantee. Well, what it does is allows the district to defer if they says we're not going to put it in this year's budget and that passes for some reason, is that we're still being charged for interest during that time period. There's no free lunch here, folks.
I don't recall the specifics of what they've worked out, but the non-appropriation is that if the annual payment doesn't pass, then you're in default and the agreement basically terminates. That's what the non-appropriation clause is. It's not deferred. If you don't make that payment, then the agreement is.
So then now that the whole dollar amount then, if you're in default, would then be subject to be promptly paid.
It could
by
be.
demand.
It could be if that sort of language is in the agreement. Yes, it could be.
I can't believe the financial issues that we're going to get into, and people don't really understand how leases and bonds work. It's sad, and I hope that wish you guys good luck on that. I don't feel very confident.
Any other discussion on the question? I see somebody raising their card. Approach the mic, give your name and address.
John Goldman from Sandown, and myself, Mr. Bealow, and Mr. O'Neill all agree for the most part, so that should probably be in the record as well. I know, right? I think my concern, and I want to just make sure I understand it correctly, we keep talking about curing the defect because of this warrant article, when in fact, the entire warrant is defective, right? So I think it's important, as we talked earlier about, the transparency from the beginning. If everybody had just said, this is messed up the date, it's not a big deal, there'd be 20 people here, right? There's not 20 people here. I certainly agree with Mr. O'Neill. I think it was very poor foresight to try and have a meeting like this here in this room. But our options are to cure the defect tonight and move on like nothing happened, or not cure the defect and essentially in the hands of a judge, which the financial and legal ramifications, if you catch him in a bad day, and I agree with you, a judge probably isn't going to do that. But who knows, right? And then the next question is, and this is the actual question to the meeting, I guess. I thought we couldn't have meetings like this on federal holidays. So that would be my question.
The schoolwork.
I'd like to just put one thing into the record for those listening and watching at home or here tonight. A week ago, last Monday, the school board had a meeting, and the attorney appeared and gave a presentation. I don't know how well it was advertised or not advertised. I got notice of it. And I zoomed in and listened. And nobody at the meeting asked any questions, and nobody called in. So I think the attorney was trying to help to be here. So I applaud him for helping us out on that day. Could it have been better advertised? Maybe. But he was on cable, and he was available to ask questions. So I appreciate it. Could have probably been more detailed. I didn't write the article or what went with it. But like that last gentleman said from Sandown, I mean, we really have to look at the warrant article and say, what do we do? Say yes or no, or take chances. Anyone else wish to speak on the article?
We have somebody.
We'll take these two ladies from the side room and then Ms. Sherman. Just your name and address for the record, please.
You can tilt it
Bend it down, it'll bend.
Okay. Nola Whitman, Danville, New Hampshire. So I did a right to know about this special meeting. I did a follow-up question that was dated June 7th, and it only asked two questions. One was, was it one warrant, or is each warrant article looked at separately? And the second question.
Somebody flip the mic down.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now? Yeah, that's what happens when you're short.
There is a gripper here if you, for anyone, if you squeeze this in, you can lift it up and down.
Do I need to
Thank
repeat
you, Dean.
myself? Should I repeat myself? Okay. Okay, I did a right to know that was dated June 7th, I believe, asking two questions about the special meeting. The first question was it just one warrant article, or was there going to be each article on the ballot looked at individually? The second question was if the question did not get ratified, what happens? My response was, we sent it to legal counsel. No response. Nothing. So that was dated prior to the public meeting. Yes, I could have attended. I would have hoped that since that question was sent in, even though I was not here for my own reasons, why wasn't it addressed? It was a simple question. It wasn't that complicated. I wasn't looking for a lot of whatever, backup or whatever. I don't understand. Secondly, just to clarify, you had said that if a yes vote ratifies all of them, right? A no vote, there's all sorts of different scenarios. The one I'm concerned with most is if it's a no vote, which warrant articles specifically will be affected? Because I believe you said that even if all of them, if we voted no, all the other warrant articles would still pass. That would include all the contracts and all of that. I want to know specifically which warrant articles will be affected.
Attorney Whitley, do you want to answer her second question? We can get rid of
Waiting for the feedback to die down. Thank you. So you're being asked to ratify the entire warrant. So all of the articles. If you vote no, that does raise a question about all of the articles, all of them, not just one or several of them, but all of them. And my comment before, talking about what the arguments would be for and against, is really what I envision having to happen to have a judge basically weigh in and say for sure the warrant is null and void, or the district had substantial compliance and so it's fine. But it would be ultimately up to a judge to make that determination. And as I said before, I think that the district has a really strong argument if somebody did file a lawsuit against the district and sort of try to get everything tossed. But it is ultimately up to a judge to make that determination. But it would be all of the articles, which I think is what you were asking about, not just one article.
I thought you had said, and that's why I asked for clarification, that if a no vote happens, there would be only 2 articles that would be affected.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was, when I think about what happens with a no vote, I put my answer into 2 buckets, and that's where the 1 and the 2 came from. The 1 bucket was the loan will not close, and the energy efficiency financing will have to be put off for a year. That was one of the buckets. And then the 2 bucket, the other bucket, was this question about all of the articles and what happens to them. And those were the 1 and the 2 that I was speaking of.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to have a hard time voting because my problem is not necessarily all the warrant articles. It really revolves around the lease article. Because after watching the last school board meeting with the discussion about even our own bank won't finance this lease, makes me want, I don't know what to do. I'm beside myself because, first of all, I think we should have been more forthcoming at the public hearing. Whether there was nobody here or 10,000 people here, we should have been more forthcoming because I didn't know what I'm voting on. I sent a right to know. I didn't get a response.
And I'm sorry that you didn't get a response. I apologize for that.
Well, I'm just looking for clarification, and I'm also looking for transparency that we did see before, but not seeing so much now.
And Mr. If I could just keep going, if that's okay. On the local bank, I wasn't involved in the negotiations with the local banks, but due to the magnitude of the loan, I'm not surprised that the local bank couldn't do it, because that's just a big loan.
I didn't think TD was considered that small. Okay,
I don't know.
Asking.
I'm just saying it's not uncommon for a local bank to not be able to float a loan of that size.
But we were sold that there would be no prepayment penalty. This was all discussed at the last school board meeting. We're talking $9 million in interest. That's a lot.
It is.
And to say, vote yes or no, to me, it's not an easy vote. It's really not, because I don't want to see, especially, there's certain contracts I want to see pass, but I don't want, because they deserve it. But I'm having a real hard time with that leasing article, because we were sold something that we're not getting. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
So I thank you both. Again, for everybody to clarify, and I had asked Attorney O'Shaughnessy the same question. The warrant article is for all the warrant articles, not just the lease. It's the entire warrant. And if you're not aware, the only thing that I was told was missing on the procedural defect was someone to write a true copy attest and sign their name. How many words that? A true copy attest and sign their name. There is no change, as the attorney said, in what was posted. Just those few words were missing. And that's all you're really trying to clear up tonight and say, it's okay. If I vote yes, it's okay that they didn't have it till 2 days later or 3 days later. Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer Silva, 16 Summit Drive, Atkinson. I don't want to belabor the point, but just to your point, Mr. Moderator, about the notification, I didn't know about the meeting. There's nothing on the Timberlane app on the news about it. I'm a registered voter. During voting season, I got emails from the school district. I got phone calls from the school district. Don't forget, it's voting day, it's public meeting day. Nothing. There was nothing. So maybe it was posted, maybe it was, I don't know, on the district website under, I'm not sure where because it wasn't on the app, but the notification was pretty poor, and I hope we don't get in this situation again.
Thank you.
To the discussion.
Mrs. Silver expressed my concern.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. I'm sure the board will take that into advisement and consideration for the next one. Mr. Sapia, you wanted to say something?
Yes, please. Just so you know, the concerns tonight are not falling on deaf ears. I said, geez, usually everyone can hear me. Your concerns are not falling on deaf ears tonight, at least not from this chair, and I think I can fairly, not speaking for the whole board, but I bet you the whole board feels that way. But I want you to consider this. If you feel as though a clerical mistake for 3 days in any way inhibited or disenfranchised your vote decision-making process when you entered the booth, then vote not to ratify this. But I know just about everyone in this room, and I know you're well-seasoned voters, you do your research, and you understand what's going on when you walk into the booth. Consider the cost of not ratifying this, though. First, from a financial standpoint, it will have an impact to the district and more. From a student, staff, and administration standpoint, absolutely. But then there's the hidden cost. The cost of disenfranchising the legislative body from their vote and the process. The cost of disrespecting every single voter's vote on the last night on a long weekend right after school got out. If you think that that doesn't come with a very high price, I want you to think twice. This was voted on by the public, and it fell a certain way. This really isn't, this is to ratify the warrant. And I know some of you, I mean, look, I've lost votes, I've lost petition warrant articles that I've submitted. It's the way we're set up. If we don't ratify this tonight and we overturn an election, I think we've become Washington, D.C. And I don't want that to happen here in New Hampshire. Let's all agree on this one thing, that this was an honest mistake, and I ask you to ratify it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? See a card raised? Can you approach the mic?
Thank you very much. Chris True, Sandown. First of all, is there air in this room? Can we get some air conditioning going? It is getting hotter and hotter as we go. My question is addressing the 91A issue about this meeting. I know the meeting has to be properly noticed. The first week in June, I was properly noticed with a legal notification, and I think it was in the Lawrence Eagle Tribune, that this meeting would be held this day at the PAC Center. I don't know how many other legal notifications of where this meeting would be held were sent out to other people. However, is there a lawyer in the room who can assure us that we'll not have to go through this again, that this is a legal meeting, even though legal notification was given, the meeting to be at 7 p.m. this date at the PAC Center?
I'll ask Mr. Whitley to.
This is a legal meeting.
Plain and simple. Anyone else? Anyone else new? You're the last speaker.
Just one quick one that you won't object to. Peter Bielel from Plastow again. I guess this is addressed to the attorney. The law firm that found this issue, on what date was it found? Today's the 19th.
I don't recall precisely. I want to say it was probably late May. And I know it was late May because we prepared a timeline for the school board to follow to call and hold this meeting. And I believe we tried to get it to them before their meeting on June 1st, is my memory. But it takes, there are some posting and notification requirements that even though the board may have decided to call the special meeting on June 1st, you can't do it on June 2nd. There has to be a certain time built in. And so that's why it didn't happen until tonight.
Okay, thank you. It still seems like a long period of time.
Thank you, Peter, and I'm looking at the warrant article that was dated June 1st by the board, everybody that I have. I'm going to ask now for a vote. We asked for people to speak. I appreciate everybody coming out. I know it's hot in here, so if you're in favor of the district curing the procedural defect, please raise your cards in all the rooms. Put them down. If you're against, please raise your card. I'm going to ask the two moderators in the side rooms to give me an indication if it was in favor or overwhelming.
We have 21 yes, 0 no.
Okay, we had some no here, but we had overwhelming yes. Jim, wherever you are. Coming by courier. Norm, how'd you do in that room?
Total of 29.
4?
4.
Any against?
I didn't see any.
Okay. I trust Norm Major, as we all do. So, hearing that and seeing the votes, I declare the vote positive. I declare that we have positively voted that the district cure that procedural defect. And if there's no other business, I declare this meeting closed. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out.
I'm going to call this meeting to order at 7:49. Could I please get a roll call?
Yes, Donald Woodworth.
Here.
Jack Sapia.
Here.
Kristen Savage. Here. Kristen Newt.
Katie Knudsen, I'm here.
Knudsen. Shauna Manthorn.
Here.
Bree Woodworth.
Here.
Paula Kane.
Here.
And Kim McCormick.
Kim McCormick and Mark Sherwood are both excused absences. I'm not going to do the pledge since we already did that. We only have one current business to ratify, and I just want to thank all the voters for coming out and voting yes for this. And do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion to move that the resolution entitled Resolution to Authorize $3,002,968 Lease Purchase Financing of Energy Savings Equipment and associated building improvements at district facilities be approved in form presented to this meeting, and that an attested copy of said resolution be included with the minutes of this meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Shauna. Is there any further discussion? All those for?
I was going to hold up my card.
Oh, I know. Should we hold up? Everyone hold up your card. Opposed and abstain. All right.
Okay, so now we need everybody to sign this.
Yes.
So Kate, I'm going to have, you're going to sign on the top line.
You gonna sign?
I'm going to sign after. If I can get Jack and Don to sign, and then we'll go back around here, and then it'll end with Kat. I believe it's the last person that needs to sign, correct? I believe Kat's the last person that needs, right? All the members and then the
Jack
district.
Sapia, sign the
Jack's-
paperwork. Please and thank you.
Oh my God, I'm
Hey,
so
pay
at
attention.
home.
Make it snappy.
Well, Don is about to steal it from you and do it for you.
Jeez Louise.
All right, Jack, now pass it back up. Come on, Jack.
This is going to be
Snap,
a
snap,
long
snap.
3 years.
All right. Down the path. And then
Pass
down to
it
Cat.
on down
Cat's
to
gonna be
Cat.
the.
Right.
I was gonna say, it goes nowhere with muscle
Yep, there we go.
While she's signing that, is there any other business that needs to be discussed this time? Jack?
Yeah, I had an opportunity today to talk to the facilities director, and as it speaks to, we'd like to make a motion that we buy 28 jersey barriers, and the purpose for that is to create bins because we can buy our materials in bulk and get rid of a lot of the delivery charges.
Where is this gonna come from?
It would come from this year's budget. And it would be for the sum of not to exceed $30,000, but it would also include loom, Red Sox mix, those materials, because right now when they dump materials off, it gets rained on, it dissipates, we're losing money that way, and then every time we have something delivered, there's a delivery charge to it. So, it's at the will of the board, but it was something, as I was sitting around thinking how we can be a little bit more efficient. And like I said, I know it's last minute, but we're here, and if that's the will, that's fine. If not, I won't be offended by it.
Thank you for your possible motion. It is not on the agenda. I'm not saying that it's not a bad idea, but the fact of not having any information of where it would come from, who would be buying this or anything like that, I could not vote for it at this time.
And.
Well, before we,
No, I'm not, I'm in favor of what you're saying. It makes sense. I would like to have more information from Carl or from Maria, just to make sure. There may be a need that we might have to add another meeting in June, surprise everybody, to talk about a few things, and this would definitely be one of them.
Yes.
I was just thinking of things that we need, things that make sense, ways
That
we
makes
can
sense.
save
Not-
money.
It makes, absolutely
And
makes
just so
sense,
you know,
but there are
the
other.
jersey, I understand.
Yeah.
The jersey barriers is something like you buy out of they do vary in price, and I'm sure we would be looking at spending the money the best way.
But like Kristen
so.
said, we're probably gonna have to add.
That's fine.
Yep.
That's
I think
fine.
we'll be adding another meeting.
Yep.
So,
Bree, go ahead.
Surprise.
surprise.
I just wanted to know where the location, where would you house them, keep them?
I guess there is a location right now where we're putting things, and he had one specifically picked out. I try to not run solo on these things and get feedback as to how people feel on things, and, just working on the fields over the course of the last 15 years, it's always, you gotta run out, get something, bring it back, as opposed to having it right there. So just even from an efficiency standpoint with our workforce, it makes great sense. So it's a discussion, and fine, when call comes in, we can discuss it if we're gonna have another meeting. I am not opposed to that at all.
And since we will be having another meeting, and we'll be talking about this more, but Kim McCormick did want me to push on to Chris Kellen to to look at funds for more positions for teachers, possibly, but again, we'll talk more about that at our next meeting as well. Any other business? Seeing that there is none, you got everything you need. Everything's signed, everything's good.
Right, that was it, just signed and that's it. So we're all set, all good.
All right,
Someone could scan me a copy, that'd be excellent.
okay.
We can do that.
I'm going to adjourn this meeting then at 7:56. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, thank you very much.